three teens decide to spend the summer free of their parents' rules.
What could you be showing me in the woods right now?
This is the side of our new house, man.
What, like a tree house?
They work together to build a house in the woods and live off the land.
No parents, no one telling us what to do. We make the rules.
But their idyllic summer quickly becomes a test of their friendship in The Kings of Summer.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Salim, and we're here to talk about the new movie, Kings of Summer. We've all just seen it. Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So Kings of Summer is about three kids who want to spend the summer away from their parents, so they decide to build a house in the forest.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, they want to spend their lives away from their parents. Like,
well, yes.
Their intention is to live here forever. Like the $300 they stole out of their dad's pocket. The story's very simple, but it's still very realistic. These teenagers are mad at the world and mad at their parents, and they want to go off and they want to be men. The problem with all of this realism is that you get a really obnoxious, unsympathetic 15-year-old lead.
I don't see that at all.
I really thought this movie was a pleasant surprise. For me, the one part that I didn't like was the obvious farce of them creating this house. And I think it would have been a little bit better managed if it was like a Wes Anderson type of a movie, which is a little bit more fantastical at times. But it had this grounded nature to it, which I really enjoyed. And I like these characters. I like Joe in the fact that he has a single father who is kind of a jerk to him. And granted, he has all this privilege, but still he feels like he's being suffocated by his dad. And I think that's, you know, it's interesting when connecting it with Patrick, his best friend, who has these parents who literally are just
constantly on top of him.
Exactly. Megan Mullally plays it perfectly. And what I love is seeing the arc of these two characters.
Yeah, Chris Galletta, who wrote the script, I think it was really perceptive because it took these kind of absurd situations, but actually really grounded in reality as far as the emotions, how they reacted to things. There was some subtlety to it, which I really appreciated.
So you wore the blue shirt today, not the one with the pocket? It's got the blue one on.
Yeah? Whoa. Rope in the attitude, mister. This
Come
is your
on,
mother
buddy.
you're speaking to.
Come on.
Huh? Huh?
Sorry, Dad.
Word.
Who was he doing a show for?
Oh, my gosh.
Are there
I know. It's
girls
like he's on camera.
Are there girls around?
Yeah, there must be. Oh. Girl check. Checking for a girl in a bikini.
Every time I see the house, it completely breaks my suspension of disbelief because you're sitting there and you're seeing the montage, you're like, okay, they're building the house, and then you're like, okay, it's gonna be like a little shack or something, and then you see the final product, and you're like, no way.
Well,
It was a shack.
It was a shack.
It was a beautiful house for 15-year-olds
it was
to
just
make.
sustainable for them to live in. But either you allow it to bother you, or you just forget about it and you watch the rest of the movie because of the characters and the journey that they're on.
To me, it wasn't about the house.
Yeah.
It was about them. Yeah. So the house was just kind of integral to, okay, this is what it's going to be. I could suspend.
Yeah, I mean, it was really about these relationships, the father and the son relationship, which I thought was very important.
So what do we think about the people who played these characters?
Nick Robinson, who plays Joe, I felt that they just followed a teenager around and didn't tell him he was being recorded because he was his performance was so believable. He was so accurate.
Yeah, no, he was so idyllic at the very beginning of it. He had these fantasies, these ideas of what he wanted his world to be.
And we'd see his fantasies.
We'd see it, and it was great because you felt like, I like this kid, you know, he's a nice guy. And then as things change, you start to see his arc and him change.
Listen, Kelly, Joe can't talk right now because he's grounded. He will call you back sometime before his hot new bedtime of 7:30. You have a good night. My house, my rules. This ends today.
Yes, it does.
The biggest surprise for me was Moises Arias, who played kind of this weird kid that just shows up at a party and follows him around and becomes their little buddy. He was so quirky and weird, and I almost didn't know if it was going to work because he was so weird, but he steals the entire movie, I think.
I thought he could have become a caricature of himself, but because he started like that, I was with it. I wanted to hear him saying more and more just outlandish things.
My name is Jamal Colorado, and I have kidnapped your son.
Ann Fernie, Texas.
Deshaun, Utah.
Yeah, I decided on the format of Denzel Washington, a black first name followed by a state.
Good effort, although savagely racist.
He was so charming and so funny in it that I was able to forgive his absurdity, even though he was pretty much a mini Zack Galifianakis. Like, any second I expected him to say, you can join my one-man wolf pack. And that's the kind of ridiculousness he was in this film.
The way they're directed, the absurdity of that character and some of the other situations is actually what makes the realism and the drama part work. Because if it wasn't, it would just be kind of a standard indie drama, kids going through their kid stuff. But here you were constantly amused. Like, I literally was waiting every second to see what they're gonna say because it was so funny. I think it's important to note that this is Jordan Vogt-Roberts' first feature, and I think he does a really fantastic job with this.
I thought he brought this fresh perspective, again, the whole absurdist quality mixing with this coming-of-age story. It's new, it's different. You don't see these qualities mixed together, and I think, like you said, it works to bring up the emotional qualities.
He's got some really dynamic camera work in this as well.
Stuff that you don't see in indie movies.
Yeah, it's just these beautiful shots of even you see like the nature shots and all these kind of movies, but his all seem appropriate, and they're all gorgeous.
This is a hilarious coming-of-age film that will touch your heart and tickle your funny bone in equal measure. So I say, see it.
This is a very realistic and relatable coming-of-age story with a lot of awesome characters. There's some little flaws here and there, but it's still definitely worth a see it.
Once you get past the farce of three kids building a house, this becomes a very pleasant picture. See it. All right, guys.
See it.
Cheers.
This is a hilarious coming-of-age film that will tickle your heart.
All right.
Touch. This is Touch.
Okay.
Support for Just Seen It comes from Acorn, distributors of Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, a modern detective series set in 1920s Melbourne. Now on DVD and Blu-ray. More information is available at acornonline.com/PTV.